Are you studying for your real estate exam, which includes national and your particular state? We're going to review national questions today. And although some states do have one exam and it combines national and your particular state of questions, I am in Texas, right? And so we have two exams, national and Texas. So I'm reviewing national portion of, all the exams. So hopefully this will help you out in your preparation for your real estate exam. During the class, I will review the questions, point out keywords, vocabulary within the questions, because of course, vocabulary is extremely important for you to know. You're learning a new language, and it's crucial for you to know the vocabulary because it'll help you pass the exam. It's in a lot of questions. And I review the answers and share examples and details of my own experience as a realtor. I've been a broker. I'm a realtor now in San Antonio, Texas and South Texas. So I'm also doing real estate, as you will be one of these days soon. All right, so let's get to it. Oh, by the way, this is Lillie Hendy with YouTube AgentPrep. Okay, and during the class, please remember to type the question number and the letter answer and ask questions, and I'll take time to answer them as best that I can. All right, here we go. So the book that we're using, okay, although if you're national, you're going to say, oh my gosh, it says Texas. Well, it has a lot of national questions, so don't let that discourage you. This author has books, I think, on 26 or 27 different states that you can purchase on Amazon. And you can click on one of my links. I refer several books. I recommend several books down in my description towards the top, and put the Amazon links that you can purchase. Just know that should you make a purchase through one of my links, Amazon will pay me a small fee. Okay. They are excellent books. And the reason I like them is because they explain the answers. Some of the other books also explain the answers. All the ones that I recommend explain the answers. Okay, so today we're starting, on the national section, we're reviewing economics and appraisals. So keep that in mind when thinking of the correct answer for the question. All right, here we go. One of the strengths of the cost approach is that it does what? So what is the cost approach? That is also a vocabulary. So there's different approaches that an appraiser will take and that we as realtors will use in order to do a CMA, a comparable market analysis, or a competitive market analysis. So one of the strengths of the cost approach, think of the word cost approach, is that it does what? It takes into account the amount of money required to develop a similar property. B, it is very accurate for a property with new improvements that represent the highest and best use. Or C, results in an actual price in dollars instead of an estimated value. Or D, reveals the owner's return on money invested in cost of development. So think about it carefully. I'll give you a moment to type your answer in the chat. Type the question number and the letter answer, please. And after I get some answers, I will review the answer. I'll give you the answer and review it. Okay, I have so far someone here, so go ahead and answer the questions if you can. This is the time to take a risk. Hold on, that was my background. Hi, Anna, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Welcome back. Well, one of the strengths of the cost approach, the answer is actually B. It is very accurate for a property with new improvements that represent the highest and best use, which sounds kind of an odd answer because the cost approach takes into account what it'll cost to build a new property. It means they can't find similar properties that are already built. So let me read what the answer here says. It says the strengths of the cost approach are that it provides an upper limit for the subject's value based on the underpriced cost of reproduction of the improvements. So the improvements are talking about the home, the garage, the driveway, anything that is on the property. Those are considered improvements. And it takes into account what the current cost of material is. So if material is cheaper today, it'll be cheaper to build a similar home that was built maybe 2-3 years ago when maybe prices were higher. If prices are higher, then it's going to cost a little bit more. However, it'll be less than a property that would be a resale, an existing property. That's why a lot of individuals like to build new homes. Aside from being the first ones to live in a home, right? It's sometimes a lower cost to build a home. So when we don't have any comparables within the area, the cost approach that the appraisers will use is very accurate for a property with new improvements, building something new that represents the highest and best use. So in a residence, the highest and best use for that property would be a residential home, right? And depending on what type of materials they are using. So in this case, they didn't find comparables within the area that would go with the property that is being built. So good, yes, we're doing national today. I'm looking at doing a few more classes a week instead of just one. But it may sound a little confusing, okay, because you said takes into account the amount of money required to develop a similar property. It actually takes into account the cost of the material, okay, the cost of the material and labor to build that property. Yes, you know, the amount of money required. The way we will know about it is what is the current cost of material, and the very accurate. So they've got to go out and get the value of all the materials to construct a new improvement. So the answer there with B is B. So that means that you're needing to take your national exam. So good. I'm glad you're continuing to study. All right, you get it. Yes. So you have to look at what is the best answer. So yes, it does take into account a money required. But how do you know what amount of money? It's based on the cost of material in today's date to build something similar that was not available to compare it with. So the most accurate answer is the cost approach is very accurate for a property with new improvements, new construction that represents the highest and best use. And in a residential area, you know, the highest and best use would be the construction of a home. All right, number 64. Okay, so hold on here. For some reason on Facebook, the answers are not showing up. I'm streaming this to Facebook and also to YouTube. So I post the answers in both places in case someone's watching it on Facebook. And okay, here we go. I had to refresh my screen. But I prefer individuals to watch on YouTube. 634, the principal underlying depreciation from physical deterioration is that, so just backing off, for those that just came on, we are doing national questions and answers on the topics of economics and appraisals. So keep those topics in mind, economics and appraisals. So the principal underlying depreciation from physical deterioration. So what is depreciation? What is physical deterioration? Those are vocabularies. And so A, eventually a property loses all of its value. B, a property loses a portion of its value each year because of economic obsolescence. C, a property loses the same increment of value each year over the economic life of the property. So D, the value loss to depreciation is incurable. So what is the principal underlying depreciation from physical deterioration? So there's a section that has 3 different types of deterioration of property, right? Environmental, physical, and functional, right? Some can be repaired, some cannot, to improve the price. So which one do you think here is the best answer? So you would have to know the difference of those 3 conditions: physical deterioration, functional, actually they're like obsolescence, physical obsolescence, functional obsolescence, and economic obsolescence. So what's the impact of physical deterioration on depreciation? The answer is not B. The answer is C. A property loses the same increment of value each year over the economic life of the property. So let's say you own several investment properties, and every year you go to the accountant, and since they are investments, the accountant is going to depreciate that property the same amount every single year and for 27.5 years, unless that changed. So they take 1/27.5 depreciation that the property reduces its value. After 27.5 years, there's no depreciation. It's no longer a tax shelter. So, hey, it's time to get rid of it. And actually, most investors will get rid of them, in 5 to 10 years and go find something else that they can make more profit on. If someone holds on to it for the whole entire economic life, from an accountant or IRS perspective, it's 27.5 years that it's depreciated. After that, you cannot take any more depreciation because it is physically deteriorating every year. Even though we do updates, we do improvements, take care of maintenance, it's still going to depreciate. The value may improve because of the upgrades and improvements that we do on it and for the day that we sell it. However, as far as tax purposes, investments, and the economic life, it loses the same increment, 1/27th, so 1/27.5 every year until the 27.5 years. So the answer here is 634. So you answered, Anna, you said B. A property loses a portion of its value each year because of economic obsolescence. No, it is not because of economic obsolescence, okay? Economic obsolescence. So go back and review the vocabulary. That's another vocabulary. Economic obsolescence, okay? Increments. Economic obsolescence is, for example, an expressway is going to be built, okay, near a subdivision where, there was a road. Now the city is expanding. No matter what is invested on that property to improve it, it will not change the fact that there's a new expressway there and the impact that that has on the value of the property. There might be let's say an airport coming to the area. Well, we can't change the airport. That's the impact of the economy. It's a demand for an airport for transportation. If there is a waste disposal area You can't move the property. Well, in the old days, you could move the house and put it on another piece of land, right? Because land doesn't depreciate. However, that is what economic obsolescence, no matter what you do, upgrade it, add more to it, expand it, it will not change the value of that property, because the economic area had an impact on that property and caused a price reduction. Okay, now you remember, let's see what you say. You remember now the meaning of economic obsolescence. Yeah, there are 3 obsolescence, okay? And I may have confused you when the physical deterioration. So there's physical, functional, and economic/environmental obsolescence. Go back and review those vocabularies or those topics in your prep book. So let's see, you made a comment as to, so it doesn't matter what, it's set to lose yearly. Oh, yes. So that's why investors, business people, companies, they buy real estate, because there's so many ways to make money. When we buy and hold, part of the tax shelter write-off is the depreciation every year, the same amount from the base value. From the amount that it was purchased at, then it's depreciated every year there until it ends its economic life, which the last time I saw was 27.5 years. All righty. So for anyone that's new here, one thing different about my class is that I take time to review the question and the answers, explain it, give examples of my own experience, go into a little bit more detail. So if you want to hear the whole story, you want to just see the answer, then fast forward on the replay and then see the answer. Something's going on with my internet. Be patient. I'm trying to show the answer here. There, or anybody watching the replay, you can see the answers. So just fast forward, which is what I do when I listen to a lot of videos. I play them at 1.5. If it's a good speaker, I can speed it up and listen to the whole video much faster, or a book. So it's okay to do that as long as you still absorb the information. And when it comes to real estate questions and practicing for your exam, preparing for your exam, review the same questions multiple times until you get them, until you get 100%. All right, here. All right, number 35. Well, I'm trying to get it as large as possible for those that happen to watch this on their cell phone. That's a little better. A property is being appraised by the cost approach. Who knows the 3 different types of appraisal approaches to determine the price of a value of a property? There's 3 different approaches that an accountant will take. I mean, an appraiser will take, and that we as realtors will consider. Type them in the chat if you know them. How do you like my big jug, man? I drink 1 or 2 of these a day. It's 64 ounces. All right, so we have the cost approach. We have the income approach, and then we have the comparable market approach. Those are the 3 different approaches in order to determine the value of a property. When we don't have anything to compare it to, or it's too far out, then it's the cost approach. What would it cost in today's market with today's prices to build similar property? And that's what the insurance companies, when the adjuster goes out to determine how much they're going to pay somebody for damage, they're using the cost approach. 65. So a little math problem. A property is being appraised by the cost approach. The appraiser estimates that the land is worth 30,000 and the replacement cost, definition, vocabulary, of the improvements, what are improvements, is 95,000. Total depreciation, that's also vocabulary, from all causes is $10,000. What is the indicated value of the property? Okay, so they're using a cost approach, right? So what does the appraiser estimate that there's land? So when we're doing a cost approach, we have to look at the land and the improvements, right? And if there's anything up in the air, and then depreciation. So all these factors are taken into account in order to determine the value of the property. So it says the land is worth 30,000. The replacement cost of the improvements, that the buildings above the surface, and improvement, plumbing, electrical, if all that has to be replaced, is 95,000. Total depreciation is 10,000. So what's the actual indicated value of the property? So you'll have to do some addition and subtraction. Type your answer in the chat. The letter question and the question number and the letter answer. Okay, so to solve this question, all right, we're taking 30,000 is the land. Then we add the improvements, which is 95,000. Okay, so that brings it up to 125,000. However, we have a $10,000 depreciation, right? Because it depreciates, the improvements depreciate every year. So that is subtracted. So 95 plus 30, 125, minus 10,000 gives us what? D, 115,000. All right, I have a Facebook user. Who is it? I don't see your name on Facebook. Okay, you'll show up in a moment. Do you all get that? So on the cost approach, you add the land and the improvements, and then you subtract the value of the depreciated improvements. Think about any property that you buy as an investment. It's going to depreciate every year. And think about, oh, IRS giving you a tax shelter, a deduction so that you pay less taxes. Or so that we pay less taxes, because I've also bought and sold property. Yes, if only all were this easy. Yeah, right. Uh-huh. All right, SR did 35D. So who's my Facebook user that I can't see? Oh, it's Heart of Giving. Oh, hey, Heart of Giving. Hey, remember to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook so that you can watch this on YouTube and help my views and the times. So go to this website. I put the link on Facebook so that it happens really quick. Just go there and give StreamYard permission to to show your Facebook name on here. And it'll show like Anna Camps versus Facebook user. Okay? KK. All right. Number 36. Okay, I'm having a little bit of internet issues. If for some reason we go off, because this is a busy time where families are home. I will come back, okay? Hey, I like that big. 34C. The answer is 35D. Oh, you were answering 34. Yeah, 34 was C. Okay, number 36. So there's a delay, so just be patient all. Which of the following statements properly describes how to apply the income capitalization approach to appraisal? Vocabulary, income capitalization. Okay, approach, appraisal, vocabulary. So that's why it's important to know a lot of vocabulary, review vocabulary every day. So which one describes the income capitalization approach to an appraisal? A, apply a rate of return to the price paid for an income property. D, divide the income a property generates by a rate of return. C, estimate the amount of income a property must generate to return the capital amount invested in it. Or D, estimate the rate of return a property owner receives from income generated by the property. So these are investment properties, right? That investors want to get a certain type of return, ROI. So they use a capitalization rate and it becomes a factor, right? It's an equation. So we get a number and it's X divided by Y. So when you know the definition, you can go look at it in the vocabulary and it'll show, or you can just Google income capitalization approach. Anyone, type your answer in the chat. No one? All right. So the answer here is B. Divide the income a property generates, okay, monthly by a rate of return or yearly. So a buyer wants to know whenever they buy an investment property, an apartment complex, they ask for the rent roll. Says what kind of income you're getting every month and what kind of income do you have every, for the year, and what kind of expenses. So they want to know that whether the price that it's being sold is worth it based on the income that that property generates. So the income capitalization approach is divide the income a property generates. So if it generates, 50,000 a year, then you can divide it by a rate of return. Okay, 50,000 a year by 10, then that'll give you what the capitalization income rate is. See, I doubled. And when you don't know an answer, hey, just go Google it. Google will give you a lot of information, or go research it on YouTube. Say income capitalization approach, and you'll find videos explaining it. All right, number 37. So what does rate of return stand for? So it is a factor It's like the ROI, rate of investment. Investors call it, they want to know, what is the ROI? What am I getting back for the money that I'm investing on this property? So location, condition, and demand for rentals and something like that will be really important, because income properties are typically apartments, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, things like that, anything that generates income. But they will buy units that they can make more money off of versus one home. All right, number 37. A strength of the income capitalization approach. Again, a strength income capitalization approach is that it uses a rate of return that is required for all potential purchasers in a market. B, yields an accurate projection of investment income. C, uses a method that is also used by investors to determine how much they should pay for an investment property. Or D, can be used with any type of property in any market. Remember, we have 3 different approaches, right? So think about, pay attention to words that are must, always, only, never, any, absolute. A lot of times those will trigger wrong answers. Not always, but for the most part. Anyone? Nobody's taking a risk. Okay. Oh, SR, I didn't notice your answer on 36. You did well. You answered B. So the answer here is C. The income capitalization approach, its strength is that it uses a method that is also used by investors to determine how much they should pay for an investment property. I was talking about that with the prior question. So I had hoped maybe you had listened to that, because that's what investors are going to take into account. And they'll go talk to their accountant, their tax preparer, or a financial person to also see if they don't have enough experience, to also see if it's a good investment, or go talk to other investors that buy lots of properties. And the end of it, we as realtors that deal with a lot of residential property, we don't deal a lot with income capitalization approach. It's more the commercial realtors that sell a lot of commercial property and also multiplex units. So when in doubt, okay, go ask the advice of someone who has experience in selling income property. Because as an inexperienced person just getting started after starting your license, you're not going to have much knowledge of this. Well, we're not going to have much knowledge of anything, right? You're going to learn by hitting the road, hitting the street, start to prospect every day. Very good, SR. So what is your name, SR? So again, income capitalization approach, the strength that it has, it uses a method that is also used by whom? Investors, to determine how much they should pay for an investment property. All right, here comes a math problem. Number 38. A property is being appraised using the income capitalization approach. Annually, it has an estimated gross income of $60,000. Okay, so annually has an estimated gross income, vocabulary, of $60,000, vacancy and credit losses of $3,000, and operating expenses of $20,000. Using a capitalization rate of 10%, what is the indicated value to the nearest 1,000? And so they're asking for the indicated value of the property. So they're giving us what the income, expenses, and other credit losses, plus also the capitalization rate. So there is an equation to use for that. And it says, calculate it to the nearest 1,000. So round it off. So annually, right, has an estimated gross income of 60,000. Vacancy and credit losses of 3,000 and operating expenses of 20,000. So we've got to come up with the net amount. Okay, so we have, well, let me give you a moment to see if you can come up with the answer. So we're going to take the 60,000, which is the income for the year, gross income, and then we have to subtract expenses. We have $3,000 of credit losses, and we have operating expenses of 20,000 for the year. So when we add those up, 60 minus 20 minus 3, we get what? 37, right? 37,000. Divide that by 10%, and we come up with, okay, I've given you almost everything. Can you calculate it? It's an easy calculation. You don't even have to round it off. 60 minus 3 minus 20 ends up being 37. 37,000 divided by 10% by 0.1 gives us 370,000. The answer is A. So the capitalization rate is typically a percent number, a percentage. Hey, Johnny. All right. So you came up with 370. That's very good. Awesome. The answer is 370,000, although the question number is 638, but that's okay. I understood. Okay, so it's Sharanda. All right. SR is Sharanda. Very good. All right, Johnny, you changed it. Hey, Johnny's paying attention, okay? He did it even before I said it. So very good. That's great. Okay, here comes another math problem. We don't do a lot of math problems very often, right? Because you get very few in the exam. Okay, an apartment building that sold for how much? 450,000. Had monthly gross rent receipts of how much? 3,000. What's monthly gross rent? That's a vocabulary. What is its monthly gross rent multiplier? Vocabulary. Okay, so you have monthly gross rent. So that is rent before expenses, right? And then they're asking, what is the monthly gross rent multiplier? So the building sold for 450,000 and it has monthly gross rent receipts of 3,000. So what do you come up with? So on here, you don't have to convert it to multiply it to an annual rent receipts, okay? There's a gross rent multiplier and a gross income multiplier. So make sure you go back and review the vocabularies and know the difference. One of them deals with monthly amount, the other one deals with yearly amounts. All right, the answer here for 39 is letter D. It is 450,000 divided by 3,000 gives us 150. So that is the actual rent multiplier. There, 150. It is a number, okay? Not a percent. So anybody who just came in, we're doing national questions that apply to all 50 states, even though some of the states only have one exam and the national and state questions are mixed together. Texas is like the toughest exam, and we have 2 exams and have the most hours and the most questions on exams that I can recall. All right, did anybody figure that out? This is an easy one. Monthly gross rent, okay? When a property sold for 450,000, so it got 3,000. So they go by the monthly cost, okay, the monthly income for the property sold. So the rent multiplier is 150. So if another property is renting for, let's say, 2,000, they're going to multiply it. The investor is going to multiply by that factor of 150 because he's looking at that type of a rent multiplier factor, and he'll find out that it has a lower value, right? 150 times 2. So it'll have a lower price on it, like 300,000. Hopefully I'm not confusing you. I sometimes confuse myself. All right. Number 40. Okay, any questions? And this particular book and other book, they'll have the answers. They'll show you the formula. They calculate them for you. That's why it's important to purchase, or I recommend purchasing books that have the answers explained. And these are prep books, not the big full-blown books that you study to take the courses. Yes, Sorrento. So the answer was D. You're correct. Number 40. A rental house has monthly gross income of $1,200. What kind of house? A rental house, residential house, has monthly gross income $1,200. A suitable gross income multiplier derived from market data is 14.1. It's a little similar to the prior question. What estimated sales price to the nearest 1,000 is indicated? So in the other problem, we divide it. So what do you think you'll do on this problem? So take out your calculators. Oh, let me point out something here. Remember I mentioned gross, remember I mentioned know the difference between monthly gross rent multiplier and gross income multiplier. One deals with monthly and one deals with yearly total. So these are similar, but they're different. Okay, monthly gross rent versus gross income multiplier. So this one's going to have more than one step to calculate it, because gross income is going to be dealing with the income based on a year. So if we have $1,200 in 1 month, how much are we going to have for the whole year? That'll be one of your calculations. Then once you have that amount, then you multiply it by the 14.1, which is the multiplier. Okay, so we've got 1,200 times how many months? 12. So multiply that out. So 12 times 12 is 144. Add 2 zeros, you come up with 14,400. Right? So the 14,400 is the actual income. So that is the gross income for the whole year. In order to then calculate the income, gross income multiplier, we derive, they already offer the 14.1. That's the gross rent multiplier, gross income multiplier, pardon me. So we're trying to come out with what is the sales price of a property that investor could consider. So now we have 14,400, and we're going to multiply it by 14.1 in order to get the value of the property, estimated sales price. So can somebody calculate that? My screen went off. It is 203,000. By having a monthly income of 1,200 multiplied by 12 months, we get the gross income for the year. Multiply that by the gross income multiplier of 14.1 gives us $203,040, rounded off to C, 203,000. I know it's a little hard to do it without having the tools to write with on here. But sorry, I don't have that available right now. Let me see here. Hotkeys, audio, visual layouts, guess. Well, I'll have to get ready to have it on the next video. Okay. So if you're confused with this, keep in mind the difference. Look up gross rent multiplier and gross income multiplier. Gross rent deals with monthly income and divides it into the value of the property to come up with the multiplier. When we say gross income, now they're talking about the gross income for the whole 12 months. Here they gave us 1,200 as the monthly income. We had to multiply it by 12 months and came up with, what did I say? 12 times 12 is 144. Add 2 zeros gives us 14,400. Multiply that by the income multiplier, gross income multiplier, and we came up with 203 rounded off. So make sure you go and understand the difference between gross rent multiplier, gross rent, and gross income. Look those up in your vocabulary, or you can go back and review this, or if you have the book, then you can see it in the answer, or you can Google it and see gross income multiplier versus gross rent multiplier. I love using Google and searching on YouTube, because I get a lot of answers. We learn a lot from YouTube. That's what YouTube is good for, right? And there are many instructors that are realtors or brokers that are doing this. So there are others out there that may explain it in more detail, the math. I don't do a lot of math. My goal here is to help you understand the questions and the answers, and repeat and repeat and repeat all the questions so that you can ace them and learn the vocabulary. All right, number 41. A certified appraiser is one who has received certification by whom? So who is it? A certified appraiser receives their certification by A, licensed real estate school, B, the appraisal institute, C, the state in which the appraiser operates, or D, the appraisal review board. By whom do they receive it? So they have to go to school just like we as realtors to become a sales agent. However, boy, they have to do a lot of appraisals before they actually become a certified appraiser. It's a lot of work. If you don't know it, take a guess. This is the time to take a guess, and then I can explain it. This will be a straightforward answer. Who do appraisers get educated by? What kind of schools do they go to? You know, do they get certified by a city, a county, a state? You know, think about how we get certified or how we get our license. It's kind of similar as an appraiser. They have to go to school. They have to then be like apprentice. And we can be an apprentice at a brokerage. At that point, though, we're already a realtor and we can start earning commissions. Appraisers have to go through a lot more work. So the answer here is they receive their certification by the state in which an appraiser operates. And it's not the real estate commission. Okay, many students get confused and think it's the real estate commission. Maybe some states might, but not in Texas. Okay, number 42. Any questions so far? So again, the section that this test that we're reviewing deals with economics and appraisals. All right, number 42. The act that required federally related appraisals to be conducted by a certified appraiser is known as, so federally related appraisal, the act. Okay, it's an act. They're not acting, okay, like an actor. It's what is the law, the act that required federally related appraisals to be conducted by a certified appraiser, because it's a major investment. It's a major purchase sale that an individual is making, right? So they need an accurate form, and lenders hire the appraisers when they're providing a loan to the buyer. So is it A, the Financial Institutions Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act, abbreviated as FIRREA? Know your acronyms. B, the Uniform Standard of Professional Appraisals Practice Act, ASPPA. C, the Appraisal Foundation Authorization and Reform Act, AFAR. Or D, the Federal Institution of Regulations and Enforcement of Appraisals Act, FIRREA, something like that, FIRREA. So they all have the word act on it. Okay, so you can't go by that. So you've got to know a little bit about the federal related appraisals board, or how, which you have to know about certified appraisers. Okay. And you learn about the different acts. And so let's see, the first one talks about financial, the second one, uniform standards of professional appraisers. So those are uniform standards of practice. The third one, C, says the Appraisal Foundation Authorization and Reform Act. And D, the Federal Institution of Regulations and Enforcement. So that's enforcing, right? It says who conducted the certified appraisers. Act that required federally related appraisals to be conducted by a certified appraiser. All right, so Sharanta selected C. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you're on 41. So the answer here is A, the Financial Institutions Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act required federally related appraisals to be conducted by a certified appraiser. Because what, you've got lenders, okay, that are dealing with learning what the value is, and depending on appraisers to come up with a most accurate value based on comparables, on cost approach, or the income approach. So the financial institutions, ones that care a lot about this, because if they loan more than what the property is valued, they're losing money. So the answer is A, the Financial Institutions Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act, FIREA. So if anything, think about act, appraisers, FIREA. Try to relate something to what the question is asking or what the topic is. That'll help you remember. All right, so we've got, so you got it, Sharonda. So when you look at those four answers, you know, can you see why the other ones would not apply? Because who cares about appraisal values? The banks, right? Financial institutions. B says uniform standards of professional appraisal practice. So those are standards, okay? Even though it's an act, but it's a standard of professional appraisal practice. The other one, the Appraisal Foundation Authorization and Reform. So it's authorizing them. And then the federal, and sometimes they could be completely wrong, right? They may not even exist. And then finally, Federal Institution for Regulation and Enforcement of the Appraisal Act. So that was to regulate and enforce the Appraisal Act, not necessarily the certified appraisers. So financial institutions want certified appraisers and probably fought a lot for that in order to make that happen. All right, number 43. So it's 5:59. So we've been doing this for about an hour, and we started with what question? We started with question 33. So we've done 10 questions or 11 questions. So I'll do one more question and we'll call it a day, or we'll call it a night. Number 43. As a component of real estate value, the principle of substitution. So what is the principle of substitution? Okay, look that up, vocabulary. So as a component of real estate value, The principle of substitution states that A, if two similar properties are for sale, a buyer will purchase the cheaper of the two. B, if one of two adjacent homes is more valuable, the price of the other home will tend to rise. C, if too many properties are built in a market, the prices will tend to go down. Or D, people will readily move to another home if it is of equal value. So what do you think a buyer will do when they're shopping around to buy a home? So as a component of real estate value, the principle of substitution. So when we go grocery shopping, okay, we look at different brands, and if there's something that's cheaper, we'll substitute something that's cheaper. Let's say some brand names, okay, will sell the same product under somebody else, under another brand. They'll sell their product to some other brand, and it'll be the same, yet it might be a little bit cheaper. So that's a substitution, right? The principle of substitution. So it says here, people are going to look at two similar properties for sale. A buyer will purchase the cheaper of the two. If they are very, very similar, they are going to purchase the cheaper of the two, unless they're totally, for some reason, there's something exceptional of the other one. But that's the law of substitution. Okay, they can substitute, and a very motivated seller, if they see that there's another property on the same street close by, similar to theirs, and they want to sell it, they're going to price it lower. Buyer's going to go to that one. After they view the other one that's higher price, they'll go and view the second one and say, well, why should I pay a higher price when this one is similar? May not be exact, but it's similar, and I can get it for a lesser price. So that is a component of real estate value, that buyers will look at the principle of substitution. We do the same when we do shopping, right? We go look for sale items of something that's similar. Brand names will usually be more expensive unless they're major sale. Any questions on these national questions? So the section we were reviewing today on the test number book was dealing with economics. Did in the session dealt with economics. There were more about appraisal. So the book that I'm using here, yes, it says Texas Real Estate License Exam. However, it has separate national questions. Texas, we have two exams. So we have a long national one, 85 questions, and a Texas state question. Other states have a combined exam. However, you have national questions. They are national, right? That's why we belong to the National Association of Realtors, right? We're realtors throughout the country. Yet there are state laws that we have to pay attention to that are different in every state. Some are going to be similar, but every state has its own legislation, okay, that comes up with laws. Any questions on what we just reviewed? Again, the section we did was economics and appraisal. See, in this book, see how it has the answers? So let me go to the page of the answers here. 265. And it'll explain the answers. Okay, this was one of our math problems. So right now we were on question what? 43, right? So when you're doing this exam, this quiz, these tests, you can do the whole test and then right away go, don't do the test, one question, look at the answer, one question, look at the answer. Go through the whole test and then go back and look at the answers of those that you missed. You see, it'll give you how to calculate it. That's why I love these books. And my students, I've been doing this for over 8 years on in person and then Facebook and now included YouTube. And so students have recommended books to me. And also like before then, when I was taking my courses in 2013. And so I've reviewed them. The more I use them, the more I repeat them, the better I understand the material, the better I can explain it to you, and the better I can point out. And I realized that books, prep books that have the answers help you much quicker instead of having to go and search in the chapter to find the topic and try to figure it out. Because even sometimes when we do that, we don't figure it out, right? However, now we have the resource of Google search or going to YouTube and Googling the topic or Googling the vocabulary. There are so many YouTube channels with realtors, brokers that do this. Okay, some have been doing it like prep agents in 2013 or prior than that. And he's an excellent resource. Okay, he also has a school through Aceable, and then he has his own website where he provides information and tutoring that you can purchase for a whole year. His material of resources, videos, and lives that you can attend. I don't have that at the time. I do it live this way. However, he's very straightforward, he's sincere, he cares, he's honest, and so do his tutors, and so do others that I have reviewed that students have recommended. So when you're thinking of what kind of book to buy, look for books like this. Okay, this author is one of them, and they have books, I think, in 26 or 27 states. So they don't have all 50 states yet. This other book here. Oh, well, I didn't buy this one. It says buy now. Okay. So I believe this also has, it has a study section, and then it has the test section. And I'm trying to see if it, I believe it also has the answers. And another one, this one here is online. You can actually Google it and download it online. This was recommended to me when I was studying. It's an old book, but it is excellent. Okay, it's called the Texas Real Estate Sales Exam 4th edition. And it has a lot of very, very good, by Learning Express, it has a lot of very good questions. It's free, it's online. It has a whole section on vocabulary. Let's see, where is it? They call it glossary. Okay, but it has 4 exams that includes national questions, and then of course it's for Texas, so it has Texas state questions, but it has a whole section of vocabulary. So you've got all the vocabulary here. This is free, it's online. Okay, I downloaded it free, and I have attempted to contact the authors to see if they were making any more. They've discontinued. It used to come with a CD-ROM. I think you can still purchase it and get the CD-ROM. Now, some of the state questions are outdated for Texas. However, this is the only book that I have found that includes the vocabulary. There's a lot of free vocabulary out there. So you don't have to go and buy it. You can just Google real estate vocabulary and you'll find different sources. These are other books that I listen to and that I read. And another one, I think that also has, let me see, that has answers. No, that has, some of them have flashcards. Practice test, answer key. So it has the answer. Well, wait a minute. Let me see if it, it doesn't break it down. So sorry, I can't show you the, and a lot of these books also have resources of where you can get more information, like to go to your real estate commission board if it's particular to your state. Well, I was trying to go to the end. About the exam results. Well, somehow it's not letting me click on it. Okay, sorry, I can't help you with that. Okay, so the sources are out there. All right, let's see. Sharanta says, let me X out of this. It took her 2 weeks to make a 100 of this section. Oh, yes. Yes, because you have to repeat the questions, review them, and then you'll say, oh my gosh, what is this vocabulary? Oh, what does this mean? Oh my gosh, I don't understand. You know, you go Google it, but look at that. It took her 2 weeks to make an 100 question on this section. Great. You repeated them, right? To get finally 100. I did the same thing when I was preparing for mine. I even on the books when I was studying, I would take the quizzes at the end of each chapter and at the end of the book. I would do those exams until I aced it because I was able to do it back then. Now, sometimes they recharge you. If I got a 60, I wasn't, upset. I would just do it again. Okay. I didn't absorb. I didn't comprehend the information and I wanted to learn it like this, right? I wanted to learn it quick. So that's why prep books are really good. And the more you repeat the same questions, the same vocabulary, or you study with other individuals that are studying for your section or studying for the national or studying for vocabulary, or you want to have flashcards, you can go to Quizlet Plus. And I mentioned that in my description. So, read my description. I have books on there and I also have other sources that you can use that'll help you prepare to pass your exam. All right. If no further questions, you're very welcome, Sharanta. Thank you all for attending. And if this is your first time to my YouTube channel, you know hopefully what to do, right? Tap that subscribe button, click that little bell so you're the first to get notified. And every time I upload a video or go live, and like this video if you found it useful. There's several of you that are watching on YouTube and I only have 3 likes. So come on, send me some support. Tap that like button as I keep doing these. I enjoy it, but it helps to know that it's appreciated and that it helps. And it has helped many, many, many students. Okay, I'm very straightforward. I'm going to tell you like it is. And am I perfect? No, I do make mistakes sometimes. So they have been pointed out at times and I'll correct it. You can make comments on YouTube, preferably versus on Facebook, and I'll reply to all comments or questions. All right, y'all. Until next time, this is Wow Lillie Handy coming to you with YouTube Agent Prep out of San Antonio, Texas, to help you pass your exam. Oh, and another thing, affirm. I passed, I passed, I passed. Believe it, ask it, believe it, and receive it. All right. Catch you later. Bye.